ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Donna Just Being Real. And we're getting back to this trial. Now we're on day 3. Cross redirect. Yes. Dusty Lowlife Nathaniel Rowland. Trial day 3. Cross redirect crime scene investigator. So basically the defense is gonna cross examine. We watched yesterday's trial. Alright, day 2. The end of the day 2. Now we're starting into day 3. Alright, I just want to read something here that was on this description. I thought was interesting. Let me share it with y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, this is something that the mother said. It was, it's really sad. And this is what the beautiful lady that died. Let me put up her picture real quick. Here she goes. This beautiful lady who died, her mother. And I believe that's the mother right there in the middle. I'll leave this picture up here for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, where am I? Okay, let me read it. This is what she said. I cannot fathom how someone could randomly select a person, a beautiful girl, and steal her life away. Samantha's mother, Samantha Josephson, said in a statement to the courts in 2019, according to the Live 5 News, his actions were senseless, vile, and unacceptable. It sickens us to think that his face was the last thing my baby girl saw on this earth. Isn't that sad? And she is so right. Last thing she saw on this earth with this low-life Dusty. Samantha's parents started the hashtag What's My Name campaign and is working to pass Sammy's Law in South Carolina, which would require rideshare drivers to be clearly identified before passengers enter the vehicle. Rowland's family. Now we're going to get into this monster's family. Let me switch pictures so you can see a little bit of them. Alright, there's Daddy and Mommy. Mommy and Daddy laid down and they had a monster. Yep, the devil's child, Satan Jr. Alright, let's see what they had to say. Rowland's family has insisted on his innocence. He was passed out at a house party that night. Joseph was abducted. His cousin Terry Elmore told the South Carolina newspaper to state in an April 2019 report. So he was passed out of party, so he couldn't do it. He didn't do it. But what about the DNA? All of this. Explain that one. See? Sound like we have some enablers here. What do you think? Let me know. Put in the comment section. Let me know. And also, don't forget to hit the like button. Hit the like button. Share your video on social media. And also, feel free to check out some of my past commentary. Check out my playlist. Awesome playlist. All right, let's get back to it. Rowland's father, Henry Rowland shared the second-hand story with WACH around the same time. In his account that Nathaniel Rowland woke up to find his keys were gone, but discovered his vehicle outside. See, doesn't add up. The keys and the bloods were inside. His father said that if this story were true, then it was a mistake. It was a mistake not to call 911. It was also a mistake to run during the traffic stop. See? Ladies, I can't take these enablers. I really just can't take them. This is so sad what happened to her. Alright, let's get into the trial. We're going to get into this trial here. And you know how we do. We pick up the speed. Yes, we're going to pick up the speed. We're going to go to 1.25, and at some points I might go to 1.50. We're going to start at 1.25. And if it's too fast for you on your end while you're watching it, you make sure you change the speed on your end, and then you're good from there. Alright, and don't forget, like I said, hit the like button. Alright, and share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. And to everybody who's been watching, I appreciate sharing your thoughts and opinions. To the people that's been emailing me, people that's been sending blessings to this channel, I appreciate, love it, and the new viewers too. Love it. Thank you. And I'm glad that people find value and appreciate my content. It really does mean a lot to me. Because the stuff I put out, it has a meaning to it. Look at this monster. Low-life piece of crap. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Welcome back. Day number 4 of your jury service. Cross-examination. Yes.
Good morning, Lieutenant Shink. All right, so yesterday you told us kind of what your role is at SLED,
Yes, ma'am.
crime scene agent, and kind of what SLED's role is.
Like I said, times I might pause to share my commentary. But, with the defense thing, with all that evidence that the guy pulled out from before, the last one, how do you defend these monsters? How? How do you do it? You really have to grasp with straws, don't you? All right, let's watch this. Let's get it. Resume.
Is in assisting other agencies.
That's correct.
Smaller counties that may not have bigger labs and access to these types of things.
That is
right?
correct.
And you told us all about your training, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your experience
Yes, ma'am.
in law enforcement. And how when you get to a scene, you may not be the first people to get there.
That's
right?
correct.
There might be other people on scene, other officers.
That's correct.
And so as you told us yesterday, that some scenes when you get there, they may not be pristine, meaning there might be foot traffic, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody may have touched something,
That is also correct.
but then some may be not disturbed when you get there,
Yes, ma'am.
and meaning that nobody's done anything to the scene.
Correct.
So you get there and it's as is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
As we're told.
as you're told. And as you get on a scene, your job is to gather as much information as possible.
Yes, ma'am. When we gather or we're trying to get everything we can to kind of glean an insight as to what exactly we're dealing with when we show up on the crime scene.
Because you don't have all of that information when you get there.
That's correct. Sometimes we have very little information and we kind of go by what the evidence is telling us.
And depending on the scene, you pretty much always are going to take pictures.
Always, yes.
And there may be an occasion to take swabs of things.
Yes, ma'am.
You may visibly observe fingerprints,
Yes, ma'am.
but there's also prints that you may not be able to see.
This is correct.
And those are called latent prints.
Yes, ma'am, they are.
And you have a process that you go through to lift those prints.
We do.
And then as you're doing all of this, you're also documenting with notes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And sketches.
Yes, ma'am.
And then eventually you may collect items that you think might be important.
That is correct.
Because again, at that point, you don't know.
Correct.
Could be important, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Might not be.
That's also correct.
But that's not really your job to determine.
No, ma'am, we do what we can to identify what may have evidentiary value in the scene. So we're documenting and collecting and trying to just see what makes sense or what doesn't make sense and what evidence we believe has pertinent value to the case.
And when you're on a scene, you're careful not to contaminate the scene.
That's correct. We wear gloves. Yesterday I put some on before I handled the evidence. That's standard procedure. Whenever we handle evidence, we're doing everything we can not to breathe over it, talk over it, because we don't want to contaminate it ourselves while we're handling the evidence.
And sometimes the situation may require more than just gloves as protective gear, right?
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
Sometimes you might have to cover up your shoes,
If it's real bloody, yes, ma'am.
yeah, and put on more protective clothing over your clothing, more protective gear over your clothing.
Sometimes.
So you told us your involvement started March 29th, 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
You get there in Clarendon County, it's about 6 o'clock that evening.
Yes, ma'am. We arrived at about 6:03. Yes, ma'am.
And the sun's starting to set somewhat.
I believe it was still up, but it was getting closer to night.
It was later in the evening.
Yes, ma'am, it
At
was.
that time. The days are getting longer, but not quite there yet, not a July day,
Sure.
right? So the lighting's starting to get a little dim for you guys,
Eventually, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It did get dark outside.
but y'all have that covered,
Yes, flashlights, lights.
yes. And you're not the only agent that comes out from crime scene.
That's correct.
You have someone there to help you. You called her your partner yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
I think she's now Serencio. Is that right?
Serencio, yes, ma'am.
Serencio. Okay, great. She was jazzing.
That's
at that
correct.
time. Okay. And you both are tasked with kind of documenting this entire scene.
Yes, ma'am. We work together with splitting up the jobs and going over behind each other to make sure we're not missing anything.
She's taking pictures.
And I take notes and do the.
She really grasping for straws. What can you do right now? But you know what? Everybody's entitled to have a lawyer. Okay, so you're entitled. I just feel sorry for defense lawyers at times when you have so much evidence that's stacked against your client. What can you do? DNA, you have videos, you have witnesses, you have audio, all kind of stuff that leads to the person that they did it. How do you defend them? How? I mean, really, all you can do is work a plea bargain for them. Oh well. Resume.
the diagram.
And yeah, you were taking measurements for your diagram. And you told us yesterday there were already several cars already there,
Yes, ma'am.
some trucks that were there,
I just pretty much remember just trucks. There could have been patrol vehicles.
cars there.
Yes, ma'am.
And the yellow tape's already up.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Somebody's already secured that scene for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the scene is it's a wooded area
That's correct, off of a dirt road.
off of a dirt road. And on the dirt road, there are several tire tracks
On which dirt road?
on all
Well,
the dirt
both,
roads.
yes,
Yeah, on all
yes.
the dirt roads. There are tire tracks.
Yes.
And you do observe on one of the roads, significant muddy area.
It was a large muddy area, yes, ma'am.
And you document that in your notes
We document it, I believe we document it in our notes, but mainly with photographs or something like that.
and take pictures.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And it's pretty much immediately upon your arrival, you're told about the beer cans,
Yes, ma'am.
and you are able to observe those yourself.
We did.
Again, taking pictures and putting those in your notes.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And one is at the bottom of that bush along the access road,
That's
the
correct.
farmer's access road. I think that's what we call it, right? The farmer's access
Yes,
road.
ma'am.
And that's kind of near the intersection of, I think that was Black Bottom, the intersection of that farmer's access road and Black Bottom, is that right?
There was, the beer can bottle was kind of in a bush on the Farmers Access Road near Black Bottom Road. And then there was a physical beer can that was off the Farmers Access Road near the footpath we used to get to the victim.
Near the footpath. And again, you're told about these cigarette butts,
Yes, ma'am.
one on the access road
And one on Black Bottom.
and one on Black Bottom. And again, Agent Serencio is tasked with taking the pictures
Yes,
of those
ma'am.
items, and you're documenting it with your notes.
That's correct.
Eventually marking those areas with flags,
We did.
so you can
Easily identify with the photographs.
easily identify them in the photographs, and then, locate them again,
Yes, ma'am.
and eventually collect them,
We did.
because they could be important.
Could be.
You don't know yet.
We don't.
Once you collect those things, once you leave the scene, you would take those back to the lab at SLED,
That is correct.
where a lab analyst, somebody else, would do the processing of those items and issue a report about any findings or lack of findings.
Yes, when we bring evidence back to the lab, we'll seal it, package it, we'll log it into our, it's called the Beast, but it's a LIMS system, it's an electronic chain of custody system, and we'll submit it to the laboratory, and then it goes to its respective departments.
And you, after doing that, you kind of eventually make your way into that wooded area,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Again, making your notes, and Agent Serencio taking photographs.
That's correct.
And as you're making your way into this wooded area, you're not just going right in and going straight to where the body is and taking pictures, right?
No, we want to make sure we're not disturbing anything between the footpath or the Farmers Access Road and where the victim was. So we would document that footpath with photographs and make sure we're not stepping on anything.
And you want to document that, you document that footpath
That's correct.
and along that footpath.
That is also correct.
Because from the farmer's access road, you can't see where the body is.
From my recollection, you could not see the body from the Farmers Access Road.
And you take pictures at the beginning of this footpath that we're talking about,
We did.
and all the way through leading up to eventually where the body is.
We did.
And this wooded area there's some sticks around,
Yes, ma'am. There's bushes and briars.
bushes, there are bigger trees,
Yes, ma'am.
and there are smaller trees, right?
Yes,
And these smaller trees have kind of branches sticking out,
it appeared that way. Yes, ma'am.
and there's vines and leaves and sticks on the ground, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And even along that footpath.
Yes, there was.
And whenever you make your way into this wooded area along the footpath, and eventually make your way to where the body is located, you observe that her feet are facing away from the dirt road. Is that right?
Her feet were towards Black Bottom Road, and her head was towards the fallen tree behind her.
Okay.
If my memory.
Right. Let's, I don't know if we have bed reports and indulgence. You said there was a fallen tree,
Yes, ma'am. You could see the roots underneath her.
and you could see that from the road?
I think if you got down closer to the fire break, you could see that there was a tree laying down, and she would have been on the other side of that towards Black Bottom Road.
Angle here, but let's see if this will help you remember. I'm going to show you what's previously been admitted as State's Exhibit 106 and State's Exhibit 42. See if that helps you remember where her feet were. If you can tell from those pictures.
Sorry about this. Looking through the woods can.
Yeah, can you do a little story? I'll show you State's Exhibit 141, see if that helps.
Yes, ma'am. This one does.
Okay.
So her feet were. Her feet were towards. I apologize. Her feet were towards the fallen tree, and her head was towards the farmer's access road. I believe that's right.
And again, you are, because we may have to refer back to these photographs later, you want to take a lot of photographs.
Correct.
And you want to, again, take notes,
Yes, ma'am.
because sometimes when you end up in a situation like this, it's years later, you need to be able to remember.
That's correct.
And you observe that she's laid on her back,
Yes, ma'am.
and that you take note of her clothing.
We do.
It is pulled up somewhat on her body.
So her shirt was pulled up. I believe her bralette and her bra was somewhat pulled up on the left side, and there was a drawstring that was extended out over her head on the ground.
And that's all above, the drawstring's above her head.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay.
In State's Exhibit 42, you can see it pretty good.
And again, those clothes kind of pulled up on her body.
Yes, the shirt was pulled up, and this didn't seem to sit right on the left side of her body, and then the drawstring came up above her head.
And that footpath we're talking about in relation to where the top part of her body is.
The footpath would have been this direction over here.
And we're talking about her clothing. You document what she's wearing,
We do.
what it looks like,
Yes, ma'am, colors.
the condition that it's in,
We do.
how it's situated on her body.
Yes, ma'am,
You talk about her shoes,
we do.
that you observe they're broken.
We do.
They're still strapped on her feet,
They were strapped around her ankles,
on
not
her
across
ankles.
her.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Then you also notice that she only has one earring,
That's correct.
and you end up trying to locate that one in that area later on.
We did.
You don't find it.
We did not.
Okay. And you document, you told us how her hands were, how they were positioned.
We did.
As you saw them, how her legs were positioned.
That's correct.
And you make a note that you observe what you believe is suspected blood.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told us yesterday, you use that word suspected because you don't know until you test it.
We don't test it, and I don't like to assume
Right.
anything on scene.
And you also note and told us yesterday about striations.
Yes, ma'am.
And those are scratch-like injuries, right? Or scratch-like marks on the body.
It is something that has come in contact with the arm that has removed what the suspected blood in the dirt that was in the location. It appears something had come in contact after the blood was there and removed it from the body.
And you note that it's on the kind of, this is my right, on the right shoulder area, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And on her kind of in this area here.
The
right?
bicep, tricep area, yes, ma'am.
And then eventually, the Clarendon County coroner is there on scene.
Yes, ma'am.
And he helps kind of roll the body on the side, right, on her
He
side.
does.
And he's wearing gloves at that time.
Yes, I
Yes.
believe, for the most part, the coroners are really good about maintaining personal protective equipment.
Again, because you don't want to put yourself
On the
in that
body.
scene.
That's
Yes.
correct.
And then when he does roll her, that's when you observe more of those striations.
On her lower back above her pants.
And that's on her lower back. And you told us yesterday, in your opinion and with your training, you believe that's consistent with being dragged.
Based on the location where she was, the position of the clothing, the striations, there was no blood around her. Everything kind of added up to, it appeared that she had been dragged.
And that's consistent with the way the wooded area appears too.
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
That footpath that we've
Yeah.
talked about.
There's brush and briars and undergrowth that could have done that.
This isn't a smooth area on the ground.
No, ma'am.
There are lots of things on the ground.
That's true.
And again, in your report, you talk about these suspected stab wounds.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't know that they are actually stab wounds at that point.
No, I let the doctor at autopsy determine what is and what isn't.
But you in your notes go ahead and make a note of everywhere that you see the
General
suspected
locations,
wounds.
yes. I know general locations where the suspected stab wounds are that we could observe.
Right. And you noted Suspected stab wounds to her head,
Yes, ma'am.
suspected stab wounds to her right shoulder,
Yes, ma'am.
to her right hand,
Yes.
to her neck,
I'm not sure what side of the neck, but yes, the neck was notated.
and her back,
That's correct.
and her right foot.
That's correct.
And it's not just one suspected stab wound in each of those areas, right? Just like you said.
Correct.
It's more of the general area of where you observed some
One
wounds.
or some. I did not list what, because sometimes some that look like stab wounds at autopsy, they may be determined to not be. So that's why I say suspected.
General area,
General area.
and you give, in your notes, the general area.
General area, yes.
And you notice that some of her fingernails look to be broken.
They didn't, yes, ma'am.
And again, that may be important,
Maybe.
so you document that. Agent Serencio
Strancy on the
takes photos, and you take notes.
Yes, ma'am. We did.
And before she's even taken away, because that could be important, you want to, and before she's even moved, you want to get the fingernail scrapings.
I believe we did them before she was moved.
Because she is eventually moved to a stretcher
That's
and,
correct.
and taken away by the coroner's office.
That's correct.
And so before she's moved and taken away, you get those fingernail scrapings.
That's correct. I don't want any contamination of the from the scene.
You go ahead and get fingerprints too at that time.
We did.
And you go ahead and collect, we've heard a lot about swabs, but it's like a Q-tip.
Yes, ma'am.
You
It's a-
swab the inside of her mouth,
Yes, ma'am. A buckle swab.
a buccal swab. And that's to collect DNA.
So we have her known standard. So if there's any other DNA that comes up in the case, we can say what is and what isn't hers. Or the scientist can.
And at that point, maybe for identification purposes.
Usually with well, it could be used for identification. A lot of the times we use the fingerprints as identification.
You also collect several hairs from her body.
We did.
And they're in different areas of her body.
Yes, ma'am.
You got one from her left hand,
That is correct.
right? 3 from her right hand,
That is correct.
and 1 hair from what you've noted as the crotch area of her pants.
That is correct.
And you're careful when you collect them.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, you've got gloves, because you don't want to manipulate or contaminate any potential evidence.
That is correct.
Because again, you don't know what's important, what's not important.
That is correct.
You also told the jury yesterday about this alternate light source.
Yes, ma'am.
And that different, what was it, wavelength
That's
or,
correct.
yeah, so that you can see things that maybe you wouldn't be able to see just with your eyeballs.
That's correct. So with bruising, eventually the bruising will come out where you can see it with the naked eye. But with alternate light source, it kind of lets you see before that, because bruise can take a couple days to come to the surface. So by using the ALS as alternate light source, it lets us document beforehand how she was. So you may not be able to see the bruise in the normal photographs, but with ALS, you'd be able to see the bruising.
And you did see bruises in multiple areas on her body.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's gotten quite dark at this point in your time out there. You spend several hours out there.
I think we spent approximately 6 hours out there.
And by the time you're finished, it's completely dark.
That is correct. It was midnight when we left.
It's after midnight.
Yes, ma'am.
And there aren't any, this is a dirt road, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Out, I think we've heard it's more, for farming and hunting, things like that.
Yes, ma'am.
There are no street lights,
No.
completely dark.
Besides flashlights and truck lights,
Right.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So from there, at the scene in Clarendon County, you could take those items, you take them back to the lab at SLED.
That is correct.
While there, you get a call about this car on Saluda Avenue.
No, ma'am, we'd actually left the lab
Okay.
and we were on our way home.
Then just 3 hours later, you got to come back.
Yes, ma'am.
And this time it's to process the car.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
This car is on Saluda Avenue in Columbia.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Same, your partner went with you.
That's correct.
That was Agent Serencio.
Yep.
You get there around 3:30.
We got on scene, we got a call at 3:01, we got on scene at 3:26.
And again, it's still dark at this point.
Yes, ma'am, I believe it was.
A little brighter there because you're in the city.
And I believe there's streetlights.
And
yes,
street,
ma'am.
yeah, and headlights and those things. And again, the task is to document that scene
That's correct.
as you find it at that point.
That is correct.
And Agent Serencio is tasked with the photos again,
Yes, ma'am,
and you're tasked with taking notes.
that is correct.
And you noted that the child lock was engaged
Yes, ma'am.
on the car. Did you ask any of the officers on the scene about that when you
I
got
did
there? Didn't ask any officers. You observe a child seat. There's a car seat in the back, like a booster seat.
Yes, ma'am, there was.
And eventually, and kind of investigating a little bit more on this, you review an owner's manual.
Later on, it was much after, yes, ma'am.
And that was it an owner's manual for a 2017 Chevy Impala?
I Googled it, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
okay. And the manual tells you that it's just a one button
From what I remember, yes, ma'am.
that you can push on or push off.
That's correct.
And that pushing it on engages the locks, but also the windows
That's correct.
to where the back seat would not be able to operate those controls.
That's correct.
At that point, while you're on Saluda Avenue, you collect a few things, but you don't collect everything from the car.
That's correct.
But because you want to get the car documented as it is right there, but you want to get it back to a more secure location.
More secure with better lighting.
Better lighting, not in the middle of a street,
Correct.
not in the middle of the night.
Correct.
You want to have a better situation where you can really spend some time with this car and fully examine it.
That's correct.
At some point, Agent Sorrencio, she gets called away, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're tasked with finishing up the documentation through photos.
I believe I took photographs once she left, but I don't remember off the top of my head if I did.
Okay. And yesterday you told the jury that the car is eventually towed to the Columbia Police Department.
At 715 Bluff, I believe it's Bluff Road. Yes, ma'am.
715 Bluff Road. And you tell the tow driver to wear gloves.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's again, not to, because you want to preserve that scene as it is.
Correct. And I don't remember if the tow truck driver had to physically get in the vehicle or if he was able to hook it up from underneath the tow hook.
So it's later that same morning that you get back to that vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's still secured at Columbia Police Department.
It was.
And by secured, we mean behind.
It was inside the facility and it was also inside of a small gate area.
And you had collected the keys to that car while at Saluda Avenue.
That's correct.
And you, along with Agent Sorrencio, you guys get back to doing what you're tasked to do, right? Taking photos, making notes.
Pretty much, yes, ma'am.
And it gets a little more involved because at this point you are swabbing more things.
That's correct.
You swab the steering wheel,
We did.
you swab the gear shift,
We did.
you swab the door handles, the rear passenger door handle.
Yes. Sorry. Before we did that, we did the fingerprints.
Yeah, you also lift prints from the vehicle, from the car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then eventually collecting other things from the car.
That is correct.
And we went through all of those things yesterday, so.
We did.
And again, while you're working on the car, same day, you're wearing gloves.
Yes.
You're not wearing the same gloves you were wearing that morning.
No, we change gloves very often.
You're not wearing the same gloves you were wearing out in Clarendon County.
That's correct.
It's important to change your gloves frequently.
Correct.
You've touched a lot of things.
Mhm.
And again, you're wanting to be careful not to manipulate any evidence,
Correct.
contaminate any evidence.
That's correct.
Because again, you don't know what could be important, what might not be important.
That's correct.
And because we've seen kind of how when you collect things, how everything's packaged.
Everything is packaged separately so that it maintains the integrity of the.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you like me right now? Do you feel a little confused? Like, what is she leading to? What is she trying to do? Really? Really? And then also, look at the prosecution. Look at the gentleman's face on the prosecution. How they look. They like, really? 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 Resume.
Evidence.
And when you do package it, you indicated you write the time and the day in which you collected it and put your initials on it.
That's correct.
And then you use this kind of seal tape, right, to seal
Yes,
it
ma'am.
up.
That's correct.
So that the next person that ends up with this item knows it's in the condition it was when you collected it.
Correct.
And then it's been sealed, nobody's touched it.
Correct.
And then once that person opens it, they would put their initials here? Make a note somewhere about that?
I'm sure they would. I'm not sure how the rest of the lab. Pretty much once we submit the evidence, that's
That's outside of your,
realm. Yes,
it's on
ma'am.
to somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
Because what your job entails is to be observant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
To be thorough,
Yes, ma'am.
to gather as much information as possible,
We try. Yes, ma'am.
and then you turn that information over to the investigators in the case.
The investigators and then the evidence to the lab.
Yep, and then, and to the people in the lab.
Correct.
And from there, that's where their work begins.
Yes, ma'am.
And your work kind of ends.
Besides writing the report and follow-up, yes, ma'am.
Back to the court's indulgence. Thank you very much. No further questions.
Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Lieutenant, good morning.
Good morning.
there were some questions about the striations, and you have told this jury that you think it's possible that Samantha was dragged to that spot, but you can't say for sure.
I can't say for sure, but yes, sir.
But the markings that you just,
It's leading.
Objection overruled.
the markings that were on her arm, I believe you testified, are consistent with that possibility. Is that right?
They are, yes, sir.
Okay. And then, can you tell the jury again one more time about the nature of her clothes as they were found and how that fits with what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. State's Exhibit 42, with her clothing being pulled up over her head in this drawstring being up over her head, along with her positioning and then the striations. It's just, and then being in the middle of the woods, there's no suspected blood around her to indicate that this is where the incident happened, and there is no blood trail to indicate that she ran to this spot. So to me, it appeared that someone had to put her here.
Can you say with any degree of certainty whether that was one person, 2 people, 3 people, 7 people, anything like that?
No, sir, I don't think I can.
Okay. There was a lot of questioning about what your role is, and not just in this crime scene, but any crime scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked about how you gather as much information as possible, right?
We try.
Is it fair to say that sometimes the evidence that you collect ends up being relevant to an investigation?
Sometimes it does, yes, sir.
Sometimes it ends up being valuable to an investigation. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
At the same time, does some of that information end up being, or some of that evidence that's collected end up being irrelevant?
That also happens.
Does it sometimes end up being not valuable?
That's true, yes.
All right. But regardless of whether at the time you collect it, whether you know that or not, you get it, you lock it up, and you submit it into the secure evidence facility at SLED, correct?
We do.
On these cases, not just this case, but any case, when you do that, when you submit evidence like that, do you oftentimes make yourself aware of whether any items are tested or not?
Not normally, sir.
Okay. So you don't even know if things get tested or not?
No, we submit things and then pretty much we're on to the next case.
Okay. And have there been cases in your career where you have taken it upon yourself to find out what happened to a particular item that you collected, whether it was tested or what the results were?
Yes, and sometimes questions come up about certain items later by the forensic folks, or the forensic scientists, excuse me, and we'll do what we can to answer questions they have about location and whatnot, of where the evidence came from on the scene. So sometimes we do have a little bit of correspondence with the scientists.
Okay. And when you have that correspondence, have you also been made aware during those whether things have not been tested?
I don't remember, no, I'm not sure, sir. Sometimes, I'm sure I've been told in the past, but I can't say it for sure.
Generally speaking.
I'm sure I have in the past.
Okay. If you had to say, no, this is going to be tough, approximately, how many items of evidence, single items of evidence, have you collected in your 7.5 years at SLED?
Thousands?
Thousands. Do you know if every one of those thousands has been analyzed?
I would highly doubt it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Hutchman. Call your next witness.
They called Oshimer Williams.
Please, if you have a clerk, put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right.
Do you swear or affirm that testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please have a seat and witness stand and state your full name for the record, and please spell your first name.
Okay.
Oceanmark Diane Williams.
And you can take your mask off if you're okay with that. Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
All right.
Mr. Williams, where do you work?
Safe City, I own a store,
You own the store?
a cell phone store.
And can you tell the jury what is Cellular City?
I fix and repair cell phones
And-
and computers and things like that, and consoles.
You talk really fast, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So slow down a little bit. So you said you sell and repair phones?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you do anything else in the store?
Computers, game consoles, basically like a break and fix, and
And how long have you had the store?
this is gonna be my 11th year next month.
So did you own, and where's the store located?
4604 Monticello Road.
So what side of town? Is that in Columbia?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that store owned and operated by you back in March of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm just going to bring you straight to this case. Were you working in your store on March 29th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did your store open?
10 o'clock, but normally sometimes I'm there at 9.
And do you remember on that day what time you opened the store?
I don't remember.
Okay. But usually it's open around what time?
Usually around 9.
And are you the person that opens the store?
Yes, ma'am. Or I usually have an employee, but I open the store that day.
Okay. And I'm going to show you some photographs.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you. Sorry.
Dusty Lowlife, what are you over there whispering about to your lawyer? What? What could you say? What are you writing over there? What could you be writing? I tell you, these people are just crazy. They delusional and worthless. I repeat again. Mommy and Daddy laid down and they had Satan Jr. by the name of Nathaniel Rowland. Yep. Dusty Lowlife. Let's get back to it. Resume.
I'll show you what's been marked as State Exhibits 303 through 314.
Okay.
Ask you to look at those and see if you recognize those.
Yes, ma'am. This is
I'm
back
going to
up.
look through all of them first for me, and then tell me if you recognize all of them before you tell me what they are.
Yes, ma'am.
And what are they pictures? Are they pictures of your store and
Yes,
different
ma'am.
parts of your store?
Yes, ma'am.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the store as it looked back in March and April of 2019?
Yes, ma'am. Kind of disorganized, but yeah.
What was that word you said?
Disorganized in the back, so.
At this time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 303 through 314 into evidence.
Says the defense.
No, sir.
Never did it.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Wentz, I'm going to start, and I'm going to have you, can you tell the jury what State's Exhibit number 314 shows?
That's the front of my store.
And is that how it looked back in March of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's the front door?
Yes, ma'am. Right in the center.
Right, all right. And what does State's Exhibit 313 show you?
That's my camera that points to the left side.
How many cameras did you have in the store?
15.
Okay. Why'd you have so many cameras?
Because I've had break-ins and stuff before.
And I'll go through the rest in a minute. I just want to ask you a couple questions. So you said you had some break-ins, that's why you have so many cameras?
Yes, ma'am.
Were those cameras active and working on March 29th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you stated you opened your store. What do you do when you first open the store?
Go and check the store, make sure there's no break-ins, go through inventory, make sure I count all the money and everything else, and, get ready to start my day, make sure I order all supplies.
Everything fine that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
What, if anything, happened that involves this case?
Say that one more time.
What, if anything, occurred that involved this case? Who came into your store?
That morning, normal, people come and go, and I remember, someone tried to sell me a phone that morning.
And I want to talk to you about the selling of that phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember what the person was wearing when they came into your store?
Yes, ma'am. I want to say he had a black hoodie on. I want to say the black hoodie.
And is there video of that
Yes, ma'am.
coming in? And we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But I stopped you. You said he tried to sell you a phone. Do you remember roughly what time this was?
It was early. I want to say maybe before 11 o'clock. I know that.
All right. And so he came to the store. What happened? What occurred?
I know I was helping. No, I remember him coming in, and he had it was an iPhone 7 Plus. I remember, and he brought the phone in the store. I think when the phone was dead at that time, and I was checking it out. It didn't have a SIM tray in it.
What's a SIM tray?
That's the actual thing that holds the SIM card.
So what did you do because it didn't have a SIM tray?
I plug it up to, to try to find it. It has a serial number and everything.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you. You plug it into what?
Into my computer.
And why do you do that?
Because you have to, anytime I buy anything, I have to have the serial number.
Why?
Because I have to record it just in case anything happens.
So how do you find the serial number?
I plug it up to my computer, and I have a tool that I use, and it pulls up the serial number for the actual phone.
And do you do that every time
Every time.
And were you able to do that with this phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did the phone come back as stolen or anything?
No, ma'am. It came back in that picture that you had. It comes up and says, find my iPhone, which is on, which is something that happens because sometimes the user hasn't signed out of the iCloud before they sell it, but it displays the serial number, and I record them all the time.
I'm going to show you States Exhibit 310 and 311. Are these what you were talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
And specifically in 311, what does it show?
That's the serial number of the phone, and where it says find my iPhone. Yes, that's what it says. The iCloud is signed in.
So right there?
Yes, ma'am.
And that signifies to you what?
That the iCloud is signed on to the phone, so the user ID is still signed on to the phone.
So you were able to determine what does the serial number entail for you? What does that mean?
What kind of phone it is, the carrier, and everything else, if it's lost or stolen.
And so what did you do after you looked at and were able to get the number?
I looked at the serial number, charged the phone up, and the phone came on, and we tried to, I negotiate to try to get a price on it. So me and him, we couldn't come to agreement. We kind of went back and forth for probably about 20, 30 minutes or well, because he was back and forth, in and out the car, and we couldn't come to agreement, and he took the phone and left.
Do you remember how much he wanted for the phone?
$300.
Is that a normal price you would pay for the phone?
No, that's too much.
Why?
Because, I have a family I feed, so, the lower the price, the better, the profit is. I want to say I offer him like 150, 125 for the phone, something like that.
And did he take that?
No, ma'am.
So what happened with the phone?
I gave the phone back to him.
And when you plug the phone on, are you able to see who owns the phone or just that serial number?
I can see the serial number, and I want to say that there wasn't a password on the phone.
What do you mean by password?
When, every user has a phone, and they can put a password on to lock the phone, but there was no password on the phone.
And is it often called a passcode as well?
Yes, ma'am.
This one was not. Was it locked or unlocked?
It was unlocked.
Is the serial number the same as the IMEI number?
It is the same thing, it's just a different, the serial number it's like a decoder. The serial number and IMEI is the same thing, but it's just two different sets of numbers.
I'm going to show you what's been marked in States Exhibit 302 for ID and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
This is the video from my store.
And how do you know it's the video from your store?
I watched it.
And what did you put on it so you would know that?
My initials and my initials and the date on it.
And does this fairly and accurately depict the video that was done and made on March 29th, 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, we'd ask to introduce States Exhibit 302 into evidence, Your Honor.
Introduction.
If may I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this you?
Yes, ma'am.
And so this, what angle is this from?
This is, I have an overhead view above that covers the cash register and everything that goes on the counter.
Okay. And so what are you doing in here?
What am I doing now?
Yes, sir. You just working?
Yes, ma'am, just working on it.
Okay. And I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And is this you continuing to work?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what are you doing here?
That's the phone plugged up to the computer.
And so what are you doing?
Waiting for it to come on.
So what are you doing there?
Going through the phone itself, trying to getting the serial number.
Okay, and is that normally how the procedure
Yes.
works?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, everything that comes to my store, I have to record the serial number.
Okay. So I'm going to stop this one for a
Yeah.
moment.
And that's me going through it, as you see, I'm trying to.
Okay. I'm going to bring up another angle. So where is this in reference to your store? Where are you?
I'm behind, I'm sorry, I'm behind. You can't see my desk, but I'm behind it. That's pointing at the front door.
There. So this is, what is this here?
That's the front door that everybody comes in and out.
Okay. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit again. Who's that?
I don't know what his name is, but yeah.
Is this who is this that brought, in relation to the phone?
That's the guy that tried to sell me the phone.
And what is he wearing?
A hoodie and I guess a hat, or it's a skull cap. Can't see, it's a glare from here.
Okay. And you said you think it's a skull cap though?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this how he appeared to you back in March of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
2019? And this is, the date and time is on here. Is that the correct date and time?
No, ma'am. The camera, it's kind of squirrely sometimes, but I think I'm pretty sure the date is right, but I don't know at the time.
The time could be off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But that is the correct date?
Yes, ma'am.
He goes off camera a little bit. Where is he in relation to you at this point?
Because it's a camera like above the counter, so that's that view. It should, you might have another one that's a direct shot too. I don't know if y'all have that
We
one.
do. I just am asking where he goes off camera. Is he like out of the store? Or?
No, ma'am. No, he's still in the store.
All right.
He's not out of the store until you walk out that front door.
Okay.
Mommy and Daddy, with all this evidence and everything that's pulling up, you don't think he did it? I don't get it with these enablers. And parents, defending these kids as monsters. I really just don't get it. Resume.
I'm going to speed it up just a little bit again. Still the same guy?
Yes, ma'am.
Still wearing the thing on his head?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it a quick process to check that phone, or does it take a few minutes?
It depends on the phone. Normally about 15, 20 minutes.
So Mommy and Daddy don't think he did it, huh? Nah. You think it's somebody else in the hoodie, right? Possibly. Can't be your son. No. It's not him. It's not him. Absolutely not, right? Wow. I can't wait till we get to y'all, because I'm going to roast y'all. Big time. Yep, I'm going to roast you. Alrighty, let's get back to it. Oh, and anybody who's coming in, might have been coming in late, make sure you hit the like button, share the video out to your social media, and share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Let me know, chop it up and all that good stuff, and feel free to check out my past commentary. But don't forget to hit the like. Alright, back to Dusty Lowlife. Resume.
Yeah, I have to go through and make sure everything is, everything is clean before I purchase it.
Okay. And that's the normal procedure?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to speed it up a little. Still in the store?
Yes, ma'am.
So it does take a few minutes. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And
This clearly shows that this man is a psychopath. You butchered up this beautiful woman right here. You didn't care. And now you're trying to make money off her cell phone. No remorse, no empathy, no regrets, no nothing. This shows clearly a psychopath. A dangerous person that does not need to be on the streets anymore. And thank God he's not, because, we already know the verdict and stuff. But thank God he's not on the streets no more. And it's just sad about these parents when they just are so much in denial. So much in denial. Or you might know he is, but you just don't want to accept it. You don't want to say it because you look at yourself as being failures as parents. And what I have to say is, a lot of times I'm not saying that parents is failures. But you are a failure if you know your child did it and you supporting it. Yes, you are a piece of crap. Because like I said before, and I said it, a couple of my, videos I've said before, sometimes we can do the best we can for our child. We raise them in the church house. We give them love. We nurture them. We there for them. Try to put them in the best schools, good programs, tell them they could be whatever they want to be. And they could just turn around and just be a monster. You just laid down, mommy and daddy laid down and had Satan Jr. You didn't know. Or Satan's daughter. This for the girls too. And things can happen. But when you start to see that your child is a monster, why are you supporting it? It tells a lot about you. We only support and be around things that we have something in common with, right? Is that correct or not? Let me know. Just put in the comment section. Share your thoughts and opinions. Let me know. Hey, I like to do. Let's chop it up. Help me to give me a little clarity. Let me know. Am I a little off base? Am I going too far? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Just be respectful. Or if you don't want to put in the comment section, you can email me. Let me know. But just be respectful about it. Because if you're not respectful, I'm not going to really listen to you. All right. Let's get back to it. Resume.
Does he have a phone?
I don't recall that now. All I remember, he was in and out to the car. I remember that like yesterday.
Again, I know I'm skipping around. I'm just trying not to waste everybody's time. Still going through?
Yes, ma'am.
Fair to say he's in your store for a few minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Now he's gotten closer. What are y'all doing now?
I'm still going through the phone.
I'm sorry, I keep pausing. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I also want to add too. If this monster didn't get caught, believe me, he would have done it to another woman. This was his first taste. And how it went, he was like, if he got away with it, he would have did it again. I'm so glad that this man is off the streets because he would have done it again and again and again. He would have been a serial killer. Yes, he would have. This was the first stage of him being a serial killer. Probably all his life just dreaming and just wanting to do something like this. Sick and twisted. Psychopath. And then that one night he drove around, he found that victim. And we know from there. Okay, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen. Resume.
And I'm just again going to speed it up. Still just waiting for the
Yes,
phone
ma'am.
to finish?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, look at him. Don't care that he killed this woman. Just waiting for the phone. Just waiting for the phone. See how much money he can get. What he can do next.
So we're seeing him living here. Do you have to let him out, or can the people just go in and out?
They go in and out as they please.
And there's another customer in the store. Is that typical? All
Yes, ma'am.
right, I'm just going to go to the next clip. So where's this camera located?
That's right above the door, pointing back at the front counter. You should see me right now.
Basically, similar angle that's reflected in State Exhibit 309.
Yes, ma'am, same.
And this is you located here.
Yes, ma'am.
Can someone speed up just a little? Is that the same person?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, what are you all doing?
Seeing going through the phone. I'll probably wait for the phone to power up or the diagnostic to come back.
And while we're waiting, did you see him drive up?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car did he drive?
It was a black car, black Impala.
How did you know that it had pulled up?
No, well, I have cameras in the back of my store. I mean, well, I got the big screen.
Did they just say he saw the car that pulled up with a black Impala? Mommy and Daddy, isn't that what he drives? But you don't think he did it, huh? Yeah, huh? You don't think he did it. Reason.
And I can see who comes up, and I parked directly in front. So I remember the car whipping in and parking on my right side.
So his car parked next to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a black Chevy Impala?
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else get out of the car?
I didn't see anybody get out the car. It was only him.
So again, I'm just gonna fast forward. That's him kind of walking around, looking around?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just gonna speed it along. So is he doing anything with his hands?
Well, you see, I think that phone in his hand now.
That's
Yeah,
not the
that's a
phone, that's not the phone you're working on, is it?
No, the other phone's still behind the counter.
Okay. I'm just gonna speed it up a little. And is this gentleman involved in this case at all?
No, he's just a cousin. Me and him talk all the time and everything. He stops by, we talk.
You said he's a customer?
Yes.
Is there something else people can do at your store besides buy phones?
I mean, I buy and sell, but no.
Can they pay their phone bill or?
Yeah, pay the phone bill, yes. I'm sorry.
Is he one of the customers that does that?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, normally he just comes and we just talk. He's an older guy, retired from the railroad, and we just be talking about life, you know.
And so he is still standing here, the person that sold you the phone?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
tried to sell you the phone? And what are you doing?
Still probably going through diagnostics on the phone. I'm going through the phone doing something I can't really see. But
Okay, that's fine. I'm just, in general, what are you doing?
yes, ma'am.
Still in your store?
Yes, ma'am.
Still waiting?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I was about to run a report because sometimes they take a little bit long time to come back.
You
So
say running a report, what's a report?
basically, what I do, once I get the serial number. I'm sorry. Once I get the serial number of it, I have a tool that I use to run back and see if the phone's actually lost or stolen. And I ran it, and it came back clean, which is not reported lost or stolen.
So that's the report you mean when you say
Yes,
report?
ma'am.
And is that a quick process or does it take time?
It depends on how the server's responding. So maybe that day was running really slow.
Is it anything you can control the speed of?
No. Yeah, I just put it in the database, and I just wait for it to come back.
Okay. Still? Oh, and so now
Yeah,
it's going.
that's clear. That's all. That's conclusion.
And so there are several, I'm not gonna go through all the other camera angles, but there are 2 other camera angles, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you provide these to law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Have any problems with doing that?
At first, no, when it came and he did what he did, he go to.
I mean, did you have any problems giving it to them?
No.
And did they do anything or ask you for anything else?
My DNA.
Did you have any problems with them taking your DNA?
No, ma'am.
Date of birth.
There he go writing again. What are you writing? What do you think it is a change? The videos clearly show you in there with her cell phone trying to sell it.
What, if anything, did you see on the phone once you turned it on? Did you see anything?
When I turned it on, I didn't see anything, but, sometimes I just scroll through, kind of seeing what's going on. I remember, I can always look at the iCloud name and everything else.
Did you recognize a name or see a name?
I want to say I did see a name, but I think I remember seeing a picture.
What picture did you see?
I know it was a Caucasian female, and I want to say it was a Christmas picture, maybe. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was a Christmas picture. I mean, it was black and white or red or something like that.
All right, go. Do you see the person who tried to sell you the phone in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is he?
Yeah, right now.
What does he have on?
The blue shirt, tie.
Please.
I think he's talking to you, sir. He's referring to you. Yeah, you, the dusty lowlife. You. You don't get it, do you? True psychopath. Resume.
Does the record reflect that he has identified the defendant, Your Honor?
It does.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Briefly, Your Honor, thank you. May I please report? Mr. Wood, how are you doing today?
All right.
Good, good. I just have really quick questions. Permission to first witness, Your Honor? I would like you to please point out to the jurors, if you could in these photos, where your cameras are located.
This camera is in the top left corner.
Okay, can we see any other cameras in this photo?
There's one right here, there's one right here, there's one right here, and there's another one right there.
So right around your workstation?
Yes,
Looking-
well, and this is facing the front door.
Okay, and we can go through some other photos just to kind of, do you see any cameras in this photo?
No, this right here is the back of the store where I actually monitor.
Okay, so that shows all the camera angles.
Yeah, this is
in the
what-
store. Okay, and where is this camera located?
This one is pointing, like I said, here. It's a camera right behind you, so I can look
Okay.
directly at you.
And it looks like this one is that right in the front of the store looking,
This is right here at the top right corner. Like you're about to walk out the door, you look at
so
the
when
top.
customers are speaking with you, we're seeing their back?
Yes,
Okay. And that's the same camera that we just spoke about?
yes.
Okay. How about this camera?
This camera's in the top left-hand corner. So if you're standing looking at me, top left.
Okay. And safe to say this camera is behind you?
That's the one, that's this camera. This one.
Same one? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. And this last one?
This camera is in the top right corner.
Okay.
That's facing this way. So I got them kind of crossed. So
Okay.
you can
Got
see
every
everything.
angle?
Yes.
Sure. All right, and a moment ago, you mentioned that you're having some issues with your cameras as far as, not the date, you said the date was right, correct?
Right.
The time.
Yeah, the time.
Do you know if all of your cameras, while the time might be displayed incorrectly, are the cameras synced? Is the time synced throughout all the cameras? Like, will all the
Yeah.
cameras say it's 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock?
They should be, 'cause they're on the same DVR.
Okay.
Yes, it's all one DVR, so it all comes on one unit.
Okay. All right. 1 moment. Thank you for indulgence. Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. May step down.
May we approach, Your Honor, very briefly?
Ladies and gentlemen, time to go to the jury room for a break. Please do not discuss the case.
Okay, let's get to the next one. They go into the jury room. You did it. Nah, your son didn't do it. He's not that type of dude, right? Nah, he's not that type. Sorry to tell you, he is.
All the jurors are seated, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Next witness.
State calls Delilah Jazik.
Facing the Madam Clerk, you put your hand here. Hold on. Thank you. Place your left hand, raise your right.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please seat the witness stand and state your phone number for the record.
My name is Delilah Jazik, or maiden name's Jazik, now it's Sorrentino.
Can you spell that last one?
Yes, ma'am. It's Cirencione.
And is it okay if I just call you Agent Delilah? Because I can't really say either of your last names.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Where do you currently work?
I'm currently employed at the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED.
And what capacity are you employed in?
I'm a special agent assigned to the crime scene unit.
Okay. And as a special agent, what do you do?
As a special agent, or is it crime scene?
But let's start with whichever one you like.
Okay. In crime scene, our duties are to respond to a crime scene after we get a request from a local law enforcement agency. From then, we arrive on the scene. We collect as much information as we can from our local agencies as well as any of our regional agents that may be there. We then keep the scene as pristine as we can, any evidence pristine as we can, and preserve it with documentation to include photographs, notes, measurements, and a sketch. We collect the evidence, we package it, we put it into our vehicles where it's secured, and then take it back to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory for analysis.
And do you, as a SLED agent, do you receive any kind of training?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of training do you receive?
Our training program is about a year long, so in that we have required readings that we do, written examinations, practical examinations, and oral examinations in various aspects of crime scenes to include photography, latent prints, footwear and tire tread, blood pattern analysis, shooting reconstruction, and so forth. We also have external training, and the external training that I've completed is a blood pattern analysis class, a photography class, and a shooting reconstruction. At the end of all of your training, we have a cumulative or an all-encompassing exam that has to be passed, and a mock scene where we set up a fake crime scene, and you have to demonstrate your abilities to follow protocols and procedures correctly and show competency within crime scene. We also have a mock court, which shows your demonstration and ability to testify in court proceedings.
Now, I'm just going to move you along to what we're all here about. Were you involved in the processing of the Clarendon scene and as it relates to this case?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And, I'm going to ask you a little bit, how did you get to the scene?
We got to the scene. We drive separately, myself and Lieutenant Shank, and I drove there.
And how did you know where to go?
Well, this was a particularly remote area, so I put the best address that I could into my GPS and followed Lieutenant Shank there. Once we did get to this certain area of New Zion, I believe it was, we were escorted in by some of the local law enforcement agencies from Clarendon County.
Okay, did you know how to get straight to Black Bottom and where this area was?
Once we were escorted, yes.
Did you know by yourself?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And so we've already heard from Agent Shank about that, so I'm just going to move to the next. What was the next thing you did after going to Clarendon and help process that scene?
Once we were completed with the scene, once we were completed with the Clarendon County scene, we went to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory, dropped off our evidence that we had at the time, and then on the way home, or by the time we got home, we received another phone call at approximately 3:01 hours or 3:01 a.m., and we responded to 600 Saluda Avenue to process a black Chevrolet Impala.
Okay. And did you photograph that Impala?
I did.
Okay. And were you, when you say Saluda Avenue, that's the scene where he was arrested, is that correct? Or is,
Yes, ma'am. That's the scene where the suspect was allegedly arrested.
okay. And you processed that scene along with Agent Shank, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And then what was the next thing that you were involved in?
I was then requested to go to 715 Bluff Road, which is the Columbia Police Department annex, or a facility of Columbia Police Department, and I documented the suspect, Mr. Rowland, with photographs and collected evidence from him, which included his clothing at the time and swabs from underneath his left and right fingernails. And while I was still on scene, I swabbed one of his shoes that had suspected blood on it, the left shoe heel area.
And how do you collect the evidence under his fingernails?
I use swabs, so they come in a sterile packaging. It looks like Q-tips, but extra long. I use deionized water or sterile water on one of the Q-tips to moisten it, wet it, and then it's a very non-invasive thing. You just swab underneath the nails, and then I put it back into a small coin envelope or a packaging, and on that I write the description of what the swabs came from with my initials, the date, and the time.
And what about you said you swabbed his hands and I think you said, did you take any evidence from inside of his mouth?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you swab for a buckle?
And at that time, no, I did not.
Okay. So I'm going to show you, and, can you go through the process of how you swabbed on the shoe?
Yes, ma'am. The left shoe, he was wearing, I believe, black Jordan size 8 men's. Collected the shoes, and then while I was still on scene, I used the same swabs, the sterile swabs out of sterile packaging, and swabbed the general left heel area that looked like suspected blood, and placed that back in an envelope and sealed it with the date, initials, and time and location of the collection.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 324, 323, and 325. And ask if you recognize those.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are they?
State Exhibit 323 is 2 swabs of suspected blood from the left shoe, back portion of the size 8, black in color, from Nathaniel Rowland. State Exhibit 325 is 2 swabs underneath the right hand nails of Nathaniel Rowland. And State Exhibit 324 is 2 swabs from underneath the left hand nails of Nathaniel Rowland.
And how do you know that those are the swabs that you collected?
These all have my initials, my handwriting, the date, and the time collected.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State Exhibit 323, 324, and 325 into evidence.
You're admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so you say you took these swabs yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I
What
did.
do you do after you take the swabs? What do you do with them?
After they've been packaged, I actually met with Lieutenant Shank at the Bluff Road location and gave him all of the evidence I collected by a chain of custody.
Okay. So after doing that process, what do you do?
After that process was completed, I waited for Lieutenant Shank to come back to the Bluff Road area, and we began additional processing on the black Chevrolet Impala.
And let me ask you this, did you collect the clothing that the defendant was wearing at the time?
I did.
So I interrupted you, what was the next thing you did?
We processed the black Chevrolet Impala.
Okay, and I'm gonna show you some photographs. States Exhibits 171, 72, 73, 74, 75, 176, 77, 178, and 179. And ask if you recognize those.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are they items you took out of the car?
Some of them are items that were taken out of the car, other than are just pictures of the vehicle, a Chevrolet Impala.
Did they fairly and accurately depict what you saw on the date that you took everything?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce States Exhibit 171 through 179. into evidence.
To the previous objection, Your Honor.
You're admitted.
So if you would, you can just go through each one, and if you could show the jury and tell them what they're looking at.
State Exhibit 171 is a picture of, I believe it's the back of the packaging from a pair of vinyl gloves that was located in the front passenger compartment of the black Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 172 is the front packaging of the vinyl gloves that was taken out of the front passenger compartment of the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 173 is a black beanie or toboggan with the wording in red, cold-blooded, that was taken out of the trunk of the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 174 is a picture of the trunk of the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 175 is a picture of the rear compartment floorboard of the Chevrolet Impala. This is after myself and Lieutenant Shank had taken a cutting from the floorboard, just to show our damage and what was underneath. State Exhibit 176 is a black and red in color slipper or slip-on, flip-flop, whatever you want to call it, from the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 177 is a picture of the rear side of the driver's seat of the Chevrolet.
And what's on that picture?
Suspected blood is observed on the seat.
And why do you say suspected blood and not blood?
As Lieutenant Shank said, we're not going to assume that it is blood until it's actually been tested on scene or somebody from the lab has tested it.
Is that your job to test it?
We can do a presumptive test while we're on scene, but I don't do any further analysis with it. State Exhibit 178 is the rear console, center console, with suspected blood on it from the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 179 is one of the front headrests with suspected blood from the Chevrolet Impala.
And so, at some point,
are you directed to go process a duplex?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that duplex located?
The duplex was located at 17, let me check my notes. It was 7525 Mountain Brook, Unit C. It was a 2-story brick duplex.
And do you know who lived there?
I believe it was Maria Howard.
And did you have anything that allowed you to do this search?
Yes, ma'am. We received a search warrant from the Sled Village region.
And so was the scene, how do you process a house that's that large? What do you do?
We process everything the same, our general duties. So we arrived at the scene, we make sure we had a search warrant before we went in and did anything. It was myself and Special Agent Donna Claycomb.
Ladies and gentlemen, I picked up the speed to 1.5. And like I said, on your end, if it's too fast for you, feel free to lower the speed on your end. And it'll be cool. We'll go from there. All right, let's get to it.
Documented the residence with digital photographs, and I documented it with notes. We then searched the residence for any items of evidentiary value, collected those items, and brought them back to SLED for forensic analysis.
And do you only take pictures of things you think are important, or do you take pictures of everything?
We make sure we document everything as we get there. As Lieutenant Schenk was saying, everything is documented before it's manipulated as we see it when we arrive on the scene. And then if there is items of interest, those are documented as well, sometimes a little bit more closely. Not everything is going to be collected, but everything is documented.
And roughly how many pictures did you take of this duplex?
I cannot tell you.
More than 100?
Absolutely, more than 100.
More than 200?
More than likely more than 200.
And I'm going to show you some photographs. I'm going to show you states 241 through 289. It is my understanding that subject to any prior objections, that the defense does not have objections to these photographs. Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Major, if you will just go through and describe let's start first.
And to whoever's watching it right now, coming in the bushes, or whatever, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit it. Resume.
What, if anything, did you find in terms of garbage in the back?
We found garbage and items of evidentiary value in a trash can on the porch in the rear of the business.
And when you say trash can, was it trash can that was important, or was it like the kind of dog trash?
No, ma'am, it was a large trash can that you put all your trash in.
So I'm going to start with state's exhibit number 289. Can you tell me what this is?
That is the trash that was inside the trash can. The trash can number is 102-99010.
Okay, you can do that one, so I just did a perfect job. Can you tell the jury what this is?
Do you want the whole set?
Just start with just a little stop.
Okay. State exhibit 288. This is a picture of a black in color trash bag and a white color trash bag. Out of one, or on top of one of the trash bags, is a multicolored sheet, a bed sheet, and the trash bags at this point have not been opened.
Okay, do you eventually open those?
Yes, ma'am.
Go to the next photo.
State exhibit 287 is a different sheet, but this one is coming out of the black trash bag. It's the similar pattern of blue and something else colored white sheet with suspected blood.
And why was that important to you?
It has suspected blood on it and it was collected. State exhibit 286 is more close-up photographs of the suspected blood from the same sheet. State exhibit 285 is the sheet as well. If you look on the far right side, you can also see some kind of cleaning white and suspected blood on the sheet. State exhibit 284 is the sheet with suspected blood and a close-up photograph of that same cleaning white. State exhibit 283 is the black trash bag with a yellow in color plastic grocery bag and a white in color plastic grocery bag, and there is another sheet located inside with suspected blood.
And all of this is outside in the garbage can?
All of this is outside in the garbage can. State exhibit 282 is the white in color grocery bag, and inside of it is the sheet with suspected blood and some kind of cleaning white. State exhibit 281 is a yellow grocery bag with some kind of towel with suspected blood inside. State exhibit 280 is a white plastic grocery bag, and inside is black or blue vinyl gloves, excuse me, and paper towels with suspected blood. State exhibit 279 is the same trash bag with a close-up photograph of the blue gloves and cleaning supplies.
And this is still all outside?
Yes, ma'am, this is still outside. State exhibit 278 is a photograph inside of the trash can as we were pulling other bags out. This is more towards the bottom. Another white grocery bag, and inside the grocery bag you can see a khaki type of clothing. State Exhibit 277 is a close-up photograph of the white bag with the khaki clothing and some suspected blood on the white grocery bag.
And why don't you code? I know, do you collect the bags? What do you do with the bags on the items that we have to photograph?
There were certain bags that we did pull items out of, which I'm about to get to, but the bags that had a large amount of items inside of them, or more than one sheet, towel, or whatever it may have been, we left them as is and did not go through them so that we didn't contaminate evidence or destroy any potential evidence that was inside. We wanted to leave it as is and have it processed at the Select Forensic Services Laboratory in better conditions.
So do you leave it at the scene or do you take it with,
All of it was collected.
go on to the next photograph, please?
State Exhibit 276 is a white and colored grocery bag with a khaki colored clothing item inside, a black and colored glove, and a multi-tool. State Exhibit 275 is the same bag with a close-up photograph of the khaki clothing, the black and colored glove, and the multi-tool. State Exhibit 274 is yet another photograph of a close-up of the khaki clothing, the multi-tool, and the black glove from the white grocery bag.
Is it fair to say you said yet another that you all take? How many different angles do you take of the same thing?
Many. State Exhibit 273 is a picture of the left-hand glove, which was black and colored out of the grocery bag, and we observed discoloration on the glove. State Exhibit 272 is another close-up photograph of the black and colored glove with discoloration. State Exhibit 271 is a empty duct tape roll with suspected blood on it that came out of the white and colored grocery bag. State Exhibit 270 is a photograph of the multi-tool that was inside the white grocery bag.
And what else was in the bag with that tool?
The duct tape roll with blood, the khaki pants, and the black glove. State Exhibit 269 is a close-up photograph of the multi-tool with suspected blood and suspected hair.
And did you collect this knife?
Yes, ma'am, I collected the knife.
How do you collect it?
We document it with digital photographs. We make sure we're always wearing gloves, as Lieutenant Shank was saying. We switch out gloves, and we collected it in a knife box that was sealed, and the description of the item, the date, and the time was written in my initials.
Go to the next photograph.
State Exhibit 268 is another close-up photograph of the multi-tool with the blades out and suspected blood.
And I believe you said khaki pants. Was it pants or a shirt?
Khaki shirt, I apologize.
Okay. Go on to the next one.
State Exhibit 267 is another close-up photograph of the multi-tool with suspected blood. State Exhibit 266 is the khaki shirt with suspected blood.
And where is the blood on the shirt? Is it at the top, at the bottom? Do you remember?
It's on the right-hand sleeve and towards the bottom of the shirt. State
Look at his expression. You thought you was going to get away with this. You really did. You thought you had a perfect murder. Was that the perfect murder, perfect crime? I don't know, whatever you call it. But you thought you had it all good. And you was going to do it again. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, just let me know in the comments, do you agree with me or disagree with me, that this was his first taste and he was going to do it again. You're looking at a serial killer. This is what his goal was. He's probably been thinking about this all his life as a young boy, teenager, and everything. That's what he's been thinking about. And when he did it, he was like, wow, the rush that he got for killing this girl like that. He was going to do it again. But, you know what? God had another plan. He wasn't doing it anymore. He got you off the streets. Resume.
Exhibit 265 is another photo of the khaki shirt with suspected blood towards the bottom of the shirt. State Exhibit 264 is a photograph of the khaki button-down shirt with suspected blood. State Exhibit 263 is a photo of the trash can.
I'm going to fast forward this one a little bit. Let's see if we can go a little bit past this because there's so much evidence, ladies and gentlemen, that shows that he did it. But, nah, y'all don't think so. Okay, let's get back to it. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
And a white and colored grocery bag. It's tied at this point. We then untied the grocery bag, and State 43 is a picture of the backyard of the residence with a tire impression or some form of vehicle that had come through. State Exhibit 242 is a more close-up photograph of a tire impression that was in the backyard of the residence in the grassy area. State Exhibit 241 is a close-up photograph of that tire impression in the backyard grassy area.
And to be clear, were these all the photos you took?
No, ma'am.
I'm gonna show you what's,
Why are you scratching your head? You thought you was going to get away with this, didn't you? You really thought you was going to get away with this. Look at him. Look at him scratching his head. I don't understand these people out here now doing crimes. Maybe like in the 80s, 70s, or later. Maybe even early 90s. People can get away with crimes, but it's not that easy. That's why we had so many serial killers back then. You know, but you can't do it now because there's cameras all over the place. It's cameras everywhere. If you don't have a camera, your neighbor has a camera. All office buildings have cameras, stores have cameras everywhere. And cameras doesn't cost much money. So it's not like, oh, you have to have a lot of money. You have to be in a high class area to get cameras. No, they're very cheap. It doesn't cost much. Everybody has cameras. You can't get away with this stuff. You're going to get caught. But when you're a psychopath, yeah, you figure you're above and beyond. It's not going to happen to you. And sociopaths. Resume. I might fast for a little bit. We'll see what happens. But it's on speed 1.5. Resume.
been marked. I'm gonna show you what's been marked. The State's Exhibit 292. Do you have gloves or?
I've got those.
Show you what's been marked as case 292 and ask if you recognize it.
Do you want me to open it?
Well, first of all, do you recognize it?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What is it?
It's one black glove with suspected blood from the white plastic Family Dollar bag,
And how do you know that that's what it is?
because I collected that glove.
This time I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 292 into evidence.
And that item was retrieved from where?
Sir,
This was, she already went
To the
over it.
witness.
He asked, where did you retrieve this?
if the left-hand glove, or the
Where
right-hand
did
glove.
you retrieve it from?
The right-hand glove was from the, that's the left-hand glove or the right-hand glove? It's from the white plastic Family Dollar bag, which was in the trash can in the backyard of the residence.
And there's an objection to that.
Yeah, just previous objection.
Objection's overruled.
So is it entered, Your Honor?
Yes.
You can go ahead. You have a seat.
Yes, ma'am. This is one left-hand glove with discoloration that was out of one of the trash bags in the trash can in the backyard of the residence.
And is that the same glove that you photographed, that you showed in the photograph previously?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I'll show you what's been marked. State's Exhibit 296. And ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that?
It's one white and blue and colored bed sheet with suspected blood from the black and colored trash bag from the trash can in the backyard from Maria Howard's residence.
And how do you know that's what it is?
It's got my initials on it, the date, and the label and the time.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 296 into evidence. Help you out a little bit.
Thank you.
You need to stand up for me.
Maria Howard is the ex-girlfriend they talking about that I showed before. Resume.
Yes, ma'am. Again, this is the white and blue sheet from the trash bag in the trash can. You can see the suspected blood on it right here. It appears inside is also a piece of some kind of napkin or a cleaning device for suspected blood.
If you just try to put it all back in here.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And how do you, what are items?
This is one of the white and colored grocery bags. Oh, I'm sorry. A white and colored grocery bag with a duct tape roll with suspected blood on it. Another grocery bag, white plastic grocery bag, and a black grocery or trash bag.
How do you know that's what they are?
They all have my initials and date and the time on them and a description.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 318, 319, and 320 into evidence. Please tell me it's been late, Your Honor.
Objection is the foundation.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing that.
The objection was insufficient foundation.
Where did you find those items?
All these items were found in the trash can in the back of Maria Howard's residence.
And did you collect those at the time?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what did you do with them after you collected them?
They were secured in my vehicle and they were taken to the Sludge Forensic Services Laboratory and chained over to Lieutenant Schenk where he then submitted them for analysis.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 318, 319, and 320.
The objection.
Over for discussion.
They are admitted.
You may go ahead and open them.
State Exhibit 320 is the paper bag in which I...
There you go, writing again.
This is just the white grocery
There you
bag that
go.
items were inside of. You can see through the bag?
That's fine.
Okay. State.
Yeah, I fast forward a little bit. Let me see if I fast forward some more. Because there's so much evidence. No need to look through all that. Let's see. Let me see how much more I fast forward.
All right, so. I'm gonna open this, but I don't want you to show it to the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
He's explaining to the Lowlife Dusty. I'm sorry to tell you, but you don't have a chance right now. You're done. This is too much evidence. I don't know what I can do for you, but just stay cool. You know, you just have to do what you have to do. Just take whatever the judge gives you. I can't stop laughing because this is so pitiful. Just look at him. No remorse. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. And it's so pitiful. Look at his lawyer. He's turning red because he knows. This is no way. This is a no-win case. It's no way you can win this. It's not possible. And he's probably thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting next to somebody who's this crazy. Okay, let's get back to it. Resume.
If you will open that for me, do not show it to anyone.
This is a khaki shirt with suspected blood that was taken out of the trash can.
And where did you locate that khaki shirt?
Inside a grocery bag, inside of the trash can at Maria Howard's residence.
And I believe you said this, but how did you collect it?
We documented it with digital photographs, placed it into a brown paper bag, sealed it, wrote the description of the item, the date.
He left a lot of evidence at his ex-girlfriend's house, didn't he? All right, let's get back to it.
And the time and my initials, and then secured it into my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
At this time, Your Honor, asked to introduce State's Exhibit 327 into evidence. Objection to foundation.
Objection as to foundation.
We'll go over this again. Where did you collect it from?
Collected it from the trash can in the backyard of Maria Howard's residence at Mountain Brook.
And where did you put it after you collected it?
I placed it into a paper bag with my initials, the date, the time, and into my secured sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that that is what you recovered?
Because I have written on the packaging, and I took photos of it, I saw it, and I collected it on scene.
Has it been changed in any way other than being tested?
Not that I can see.
This time, Your Honor, asked to introduce State's Exhibit 327 into evidence.
Said there's no objection.
Now you can show it.
This is a Dickies brand khaki shirt, a button down, that was collected out of the trash can with suspected blood.
And there are cuttings on the bottom of that. Did you do that, or is that how you found it?
No, ma'am, I did not take any cuttings from it.
Once you have this item, what is done with it? You said it's submitted to SLED. Is any other testing? Is it done for other testing?
Lieutenant Shank would have been the one to submit these items for testing, so more than likely he submitted it for forensic analysis.
This is State's Exhibit 329.
Would you like me to open it?
Yes, I'll go there.
The lawyer's probably thinking, why did I get stuck with his
Dark colored
case?
pants and a dark colored hoodie.
And where did you collect those items from?
These were collected from a grocery bag that was in a trash can in the backyard of Maria Howard's residence.
And where did you put those after you collected them?
They were placed into a paper bag, and they were labeled with the item description, the date.
State's Exhibit 328. Look at those items. Don't show them to me. And tell me what they are.
I collected the items and I documented them.
This time, Your Honor, asked to introduce State's Exhibit 328 into evidence. You may go ahead.
I'm gonna skip over through some of this because it's basically a lot of evidence. We'll be here forever. Oh my gosh, look at that. know how hard it is for this girl's parents to see all of this?
Part of the sheet or pillowcase with suspected blood came out of the trash can. The paper towel roll that came out of the trash can as well with suspected blood. And there's miscellaneous and numerous cleaning wipes with suspected blood.
And these were all located where?
These were all from a grocery bag that was inside of the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard. And then just other items of trash.
Let's show you what's remarked states 295. Show you what's remarked states exhibit 295 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that?
This is a multi-tool that was collected from one of the grocery bags in the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard at Mountain Brook.
And what did you do with it once you collected it?
I collected it, I wrote the time, initials, and date on the packaging and secured it in my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that's what you collected?
Because I was on scene, I documented it, and I collected it.
This time we'd ask to introduce state's exhibit number 296 into, 295 into evidence. Of the previous objection. You may open it.
This is a multi-tool that we found in the grocery bag in the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard at Mountain Brook.
And can it be opened?
I'm not sure how to open it.
I'm not asking you to.
Okay, it can be opened, but I will not open it for you guys.
And where did you find that?
It was in a grocery bag in the trash can at Mountain Brook at Maria Howard's residence in the backyard.
And I believe you said this, but what, if anything, did you see on the knife when you collected it?
Suspected blood was seen on the knife when we collected it, as well as suspected hair.
Your Honor, state's exhibit number 228 through 240. My understanding is that the defense over the previous objection is okay with this. Yes, Your Honor. No objection to these outside of the previous objection. All right, so I'm going to ask you to show the jury stakes 228 and 240, and just tell them what's in each one of them. And let me start. We're going off the outside of the house. Did you go into the house and take photographs?
Yes, we went inside the house and took overall, and we took photographs.
And can you talk to the jury about these photographs then?
Yes, ma'am. State Exhibit 228 is a photo of the front door looking at it from the living room, and to the right here, you'll see the staircase that leads up to the second floor. State Exhibit 229 is a photograph of the staircase that leads to the second floor, bedrooms and a bathroom. State Exhibit 230 is a picture of, as soon as you walk up the stairs, the very first bedroom that has a mattress laying on the floor is a photograph of the mattress and a gray color pillowcase and comforter. State Exhibit 231 is a closer photograph of the gray color pillowcase with suspected blood on the pillowcase. State Exhibit 232 is a close-up photograph of suspected blood on the gray pillowcase. State Exhibit 233 is a photograph standing on the back porch of the residence of Unit C at Mountain Brook, looking in towards this door would lead to a kitchen, which is the rear door. State Exhibit 234 is a photograph of a closet, door and closet, that was located underneath the stairwell, or staircase, on the first floor.
And what, if anything, did you find in that closet?
In this closet, we found a pair of, looked like children's pink Adidas shoes, and on the sole of one of the shoes was suspected blood. State Exhibit 235 is a picture inside of the closet, which was underneath the stairs, and the pink in color Adidas shoes. State Exhibit 236 is a closer photograph of the right pink Adidas shoe with suspected blood. State Exhibit 237.
And before you can show it, but where did you locate that white basket?
The white basket that you're seeing a photograph of is in the bedroom that you just saw the gray pillowcase in, the first bedroom as soon as you walk up the stairs, in a closet. And the black and colored glove you're seeing was from the white laundry basket in the closet. State Exhibit 238 is the right-hand glove, black glove, from the white laundry basket in the closet of the bedroom. State Exhibit 239 is the black glove that was inside out when we found it, and it had suspected hair on it. State Exhibit 240 is another photograph of the black glove from the white laundry basket.
Did you collect any of those items you just showed us a photo of?
Yes, ma'am. We collected the pink shoes with the suspected blood that was underneath the staircase closet, and we collected the gray pillowcase from the bedroom with suspected blood. We also collected the black glove, the right-hand glove from the white laundry basket that had hair on it.
And there's not a photograph of it, but did you find anything related to marijuana in the home?
Yes, ma'am. In the same bedroom we've been talking about, in the closet at the top shelf was a metallic and clear type bag with a edible item inside of it, like a Rice Krispie Treat looking item that we believe was suspected drugs.
You want to start? State's Exhibit 294. What is State's number 294?
One pair of pink and color Adidas size 9K shoes with suspected blood from the closet underneath the stairs at Maria Howard's residence.
And what did you do when you collected it? How did you collect it?
We took photographs of the shoes. We placed it into a brown paper bag, as you see. I labeled it with the item description, the date, the time, and my initials, and then secured it into my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
How do you know that's the item that you collected?
Because of the label, my initials, the date, the time, and I was on scene and I collected it myself.
This time I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 294 with evidence.
Yes, please. This is a pair of the pink Adidas child shoes with suspected blood on the sole.
State's Exhibit 291. Ask you for a time.
Did you?
What is it?
There's one right-hand black and colored glove with suspected hair from a white colored basket from the closet in Maria Howard's residence.
How did you collect that?
I documented it with digital photographs, or especially Playcom documented it with digital photographs, placed it into a brown paper bag that you see, labeled it with the item description, the date, the time, and my initials,
Where did you take it?
and then secured it in my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that's the item you collected?
It's got my initials, the date and time, and I was on scene and I collected this item.
I would ask at this time to introduce State's Exhibit 291 into evidence.
the black right hand glove that was out of the white laundry basket in the upstairs bedroom closet.
I'll show you. Takes exhibits 290 and 293 and ask if you recognize these. Just say which one first.
This is the gray and color pillowcase from the right side of the bed in Maria Howard's residence.
And that's 293.
And that is 293.
And what's 291?
And State Exhibit 290
290.
is one silver and clear plastic bag containing a food edible, suspected drugs or THC.
And where did you collect those two items?
The gray and color pillowcase was collected from the right side of the bed in the upstairs bedroom of Maria Howard's residence. And the suspected drugs were collected from the closet shelf in the same bedroom at Maria Howard's residence.
How did you collect those items?
Each item was collected separately and placed into a paper bag with the item description, the date, my initials, and the time it was collected. And then it was secured in my sled vehicle and transported to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know those are the same items that you collected?
It's got the item description on there. It's got my initials and my date, the date and time, and I was on scene when I collected these items.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask you to introduce State Exhibit 290 and 293 into evidence.
Which is which?
293 is the pillowcase, 290 is the edible product.
Which says the defense.
Of a previous objection.
290 will be for identification only at this time.
But,
Whether 293 is admitted.
This is the pillowcase from the right side of the bed closest to the door with suspected blood that was collected at Maria Howard's residence.
Earlier you stated that you did go to the police station on Bluff Road and document and see the defendant. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And at that time, did you take photographs of anything? Of him, rather than just be specific? Did you take photographs of the defendant?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you do with his clothing?
All of his clothing was collected, placed into paper bags, and the description of the item, the date, the time, and the initials were placed on the bag, and I secured the items in my truck. And I met with Lieutenant Shank, and things were transferred to him via chain of custody.
I'll just start with State Exhibit 300, ask if you recognize this.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that item?
It's one pair of black and colored Jordan size 8 shoes from Nathaniel Rowland.
We're just going to lay those down so I can get them all at the same.
Okay.
Can you tell, what is 301?
State Exhibit 301 is one pair of black and colored socks with suspected blood from Nathaniel Rowland.
316
316 is one pair of gray and color Puma sweatpants from Nathaniel Rowland.
and 317.
317 is one gray and color Puma hoodie from Nathaniel Rowland.
And how did you collect these items?
All of these items were collected from Nathaniel Rowland. They were placed into an individual paper bag with the item description, the date, the initials, and the time they were collected.
And where did you take them after you collected?
These were taken to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory and chained over to Lieutenant Shank via a chain of custody form.
And how do you know those are the items that you collected?
I collected these items from Nathaniel Rowland, and these are my initials and my descriptions and my handwriting on these bags.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State Exhibit 300, 301, 316, and 317 into evidence.
Each are admitted.
And Your Honor, start with 300.
State Exhibit 300 is one pair of black and colored Jordan size 8 shoes for Nathaniel Rowland.
And those are what he was wearing when he was taken into custody, is that correct?
These are what he was wearing when I saw him at Bluff Road at Columbia Police Department.
I'm going to skip a little bit because this is a lot of evidence. And you thought you were going to get away with this? Oh my gosh.
What is 301? State Exhibit 301 is one pair of black and colored socks with suspected blood from Nathaniel. State Exhibit 316 is one pair of gray and colored Puma sweatpants from Nathaniel Rowland. These are the gray sweatpants collected from Nathaniel Rowland at Bluff Road. On April 2nd, on April 2nd, 2019, myself and Lieutenant Shank went back to Bluff Road to the Columbia Police Department for a meeting. It was then I was advised that a search warrant had been obtained by the SLED Midlands region for Nathaniel Rowland's buccal swab.
And how do you take a local swab in general?
A buccal swab is again, it comes out of a sterile packaging. It's like two Q-tips, just longer. And then you swab the inside of the suspect or the witness, whoever it is, his mouth. And those are placed back into the small coin envelope or a packaging where it's sealed with evidence tape. The item description is written with the time, the date, and my initials.
Were you able to do that with Mr. Rowland?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 326 and ask if you recognize it.
I do.
And what is that?
This is 2 buccal swabs from Nathaniel Rowland.
And what did you do with them after you obtained them from Mr. Rowland?
These were provided to Lieutenant Shank via a chain of custody form.
And how do you know that that's what you collect from the defendant?
This has my item description, my initials, and the date and the time.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 326 into evidence.
326 is admitted.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Look at that, mountains of evidence. Look at that. Look at it real clear. Look at that, mountains of evidence.
As she prepares to come, let's stand for a moment, everyone.
Judge like them to stand up, get a little, exercise, get the blood circulating. All that sitting down with this because of this monster.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Yes.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good. All right, so just going to go back a little bit, set out a timeline here, okay? So you were with Lieutenant Shank on March 29th in Clarendon County.
That's correct.
Your job basically take pictures.
Yes, ma'am.
Basically, I don't mean it that way. You're tasked with documenting with pictures,
Yes.
and he's tasked with documenting the scene with notes.
Yes.
And you're wearing gloves,
Yes, ma'am.
protective gear. right?
Correct.
Because the purpose of that is to not contaminate.
Okay, his lawyer. She's gonna try to grasp for straws again. This is funny. Okay, she's grasping for straws. Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, they entitled for a lawyer and have a defense. I mean, nothing they could do. If he says he's innocent, he wants to plead innocent, not guilty. He wants to be defended. Be defended. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? You have to do it. You just have to. But I just feel sorry for these lawyers when, clear as day, you saw that with mountains of evidence. I mean, really, what can you do but try to get some sort of plea bargain? Something. That's just it. But see, these psychopaths, these narcissists, and all of them, they're very delusional. They're delusional. They think they're going to beat this. They think they're smarter than everybody else. But they're not. Resume. We almost done, ladies and gentlemen. Just hang in there. But make sure you hit the like button. Anybody who just popping in, hit the like button too. Alrighty. Resume.
Anything that could be there, right?
That's right.
Manipulate any evidence.
Right.
And collect things as they are. and take those back to the laboratory at SLED.
Correct.
And you're there for several hours,
Yes, ma'am, approximately 6 hours.
about 6 hours. And when you start out, it's still light.
It is.
And then by the time you leave, it's completely dark.
It is. It's past midnight.
It's past midnight. And there are no street lights.
No, not in the location we were.
It's a dirt road.
It is.
Wooded area.
Yes.
Leave there, and you end up on Salute Avenue in Columbia.
Correct.
And again, you're tasked with taking pictures,
Correct.
and Lieutenant Schenk is tasked with documenting with notes.
Correct.
And again, at that time, it's not, you're documenting the car as it is at that moment on Salute Avenue.
Yes.
It eventually gets towed back to the CPD building on Bluff Road,
Yes, on Bluff Road.
and it's secured in their facility there.
Yes.
While Lieutenant Schenk and yourself are at the scene on Salute Avenue, you get called away.
I do.
And that's for you to go to that building, that Columbia Police Department building.
Yes.
And that's about almost 6 o'clock in the morning.
I cleared 600 Toledo Avenue at approximately 5:40 a.m. and I arrived at 715 Bluff Road at 5:47 a.m.
And the reason you go to Columbia Police Department at that time is to photograph Mr. Rowland.
It is.
And you do take photographs of Mr. Rowland.
I do.
We don't see any of those today.
I did not see today.
You took pictures of his face. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And this was March 30th of 2019.
Correct.
Right, so the early morning hours of March 30th.
Yes,
And at that time, Mr. Rowland had facial hair,
he did.
and his hair is a little longer than it is today.
It is.
So you took pictures of his face, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you took pictures of his arms,
I did.
lifting up each sleeve.
Yes.
right? And taking a picture of the top of his arm,
Yes.
taking a picture of the bottom of his arm.
Yes.
You take a picture of the other arm,
Correct.
repeat the same process.
That's right.
You take a picture of the front of his arm, right?
Yes.
And a picture of the bottom of his arm.
Yes.
You go on to take pictures of his hands.
I do.
Lay down on the table like this.
That's right.
You take pictures of the top of his hands. right?
Yes.
And you flip over and take pictures of the bottom of his hands.
I do.
And you take pictures basically of him from top to bottom.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. You tell him at that time you don't see anything. You're just documenting.
Correct. I'm documenting him.
Okay. And at that time, as we've heard, you collect his clothing, right?
Yes, I do.
And swab his fingernails
I do.
and take the swab from his shoe.
Yes.
And that's just I think you said was it two swabs of his shoe? Sorry, 2 swabs from his shoe?
It's 2 swabs
Of that one area.
of the left shoe heel area.
From the left shoe heel area. You end up, this is still at Columbia Police Department. You finish up with Mr. Rowland. You're still at the police department.
I am.
You end up going down to where the vehicle has been secured,
Yes, I do.
this Impala.
Correct.
And Lieutenant Schenk, he's there too,
He is.
and you both begin further processing that car.
Correct.
And by further processing, I mean more pictures, more swabs, collecting items.
That's right.
Okay. And at this point, the car keys have been collected.
To my knowledge, yes.
And to your knowledge, no swabs of the car keys have been taken.
Not to my knowledge.
You also, as I said, you documented further the car by taking pictures. That was your job that night.
It is.
Well, early morning hours.
Yes,
That was your job, to take pictures. And you took pictures of the windows of the car.
that's right.
The prints that were on the window.
Mhm.
And if there was blood on the windows, you would have taken pictures of the suspected blood.
Yes,
on
if
the
there was
windows.
suspected blood, I would have taken a photo of it.
And you collect several items from the vehicle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't collect an earring,
Not from the vehicle.
not from the vehicle. You don't collect an ATM card,
Not to my knowledge.
and you don't collect a purse.
Not to my knowledge.
And all while you're processing this car, even just taking the pictures, you're gloved. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you take the swabs from the vehicle, if that's what you did, you document, or I'm sorry, you wear your gloves, right?
Right. I did not take swabs from the vehicle. Lieutenant Schenk did, but in general purposes, yes, I'm always wearing gloves.
Always wearing gloves if
Yes,
you're dealing
ma'am.
with a crime scene. I want to talk about, it's a couple of days later, this was March 30th at Columbia Police Department when you're working with Lieutenant Schenk to process the vehicle.
Mhm.
On April 3rd, so 5 days later, is when we end up at Maria Howard's house, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, it is April 3rd.
And there you don't take any swabs either, right?
No, ma'am, I took no swabs at
Just,
Mountain Brook.
right, just collecting the items as they are at her house.
Yes,
And that gets taken back to the SLED lab for analysis.
yes, ma'am, everything got taken back to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory, and then it was all chained over to Lieutenant Schenk, who then submitted it for analysis.
And you don't do the analysis.
No, I do not do the analysis. I collect it, and I submit it, or I chained it over to Lieutenant Schenk, who then submitted it for analysis, and then we just write up a report of our documentation and what we did in our observations.
And this trash can, you said a number that was associated with that trash can.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a unique code for a trash can?
I don't know if it's a unique code, but it is an identifying marker of which trash can it is since I believe there was more than one trash can out there. It's a duplex, so Unit C is the one that we were looking at. We didn't want to mistakenly take a trash can from a different address, and we were able to go back in the photographs and identify that specific trash can is what the grocery bags and items of evidence came out of.
So that code would be unique to this certain address, this being an apartment.
I can't testify to that, I'm not sure.
So you don't have that information?
No, I do not.
That particular trash can number is unique to that address?
No, ma'am, it's just documenting that that trash can is behind the residence at Unit C of Mountain Brook.
And while we're talking about the back of the residence, you did say earlier to the jury that that is an area that can be accessed by not, you don't have to go through the house to get back there.
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge.
And again, these items that we just went through, all of these are all items that were found at the home of Maria Howard.
Yes.
I want to talk just again about the car real quick. You were tasked with taking pictures. You took a lot of pictures.
I did.
Okay. You didn't see any defects in the seats?
And not to my knowledge.
No cuts?
Nothing that I can think of right now without seeing photographs.
You would have documented that with photographs?
Yes.
You've seen that? And Lieutenant Chang would have documented that in his notes?
Yes.
Okay. And again, at every scene, Clarendon County, Saluda Avenue, dealing with Mr. Rowland and dealing with the search warrant at Maria Howard's house, you were gloved, right?
Yes, I was.
Careful not to contaminate anything,
That's right.
and careful not to manipulate any evidence.
Correct.
You collect it as is, right?
Yes.
Package it separately,
Yes.
seal it,
Yes.
and take it to the lab
Yes.
for the analysts at the lab to begin their work.
Correct.
Back to the court's involved. And whenever you were taking the photographs of Mr. Rowland on March 30th, we've got the time frame, it's around almost 6 o'clock in the morning, is that right? I think you said 5:47.
Yeah, I arrived at 715 Bluff Road at approximately 5:47 a.m.
5:47 a.m., thank you. And again, I'm referring to whenever you're documenting him with pictures. Could be important, right?
Right.
But again, you don't see anything on him, right?
In what terms?
On his face, as far as scratches?
As far as scratches, no, I do not.
You don't see any marks?
I do not see any marks on his
Cuts?
face. I do not see cuts on his face.
Same thing with the arms,
Same thing.
both sides,
Correct.
and his hands, both
Yeah,
sides.
correct.
And these photos that you took, you turned those over to the investigators in this case?
All those photos were turned over to Lieutenant Schenk.
All photos to Lieutenant Chang. Thank you very much. I have nothing further.
Any read over?
May the court's indulged.
There he goes, writing again. He's writing on one of those Post-its.
Thank you, you may step down.
And he passes it to him. Oh, he passed it to the lawyer. Lawyer this. Oh, we got a lot of different colored Post-its right there.
This court, Your Honor, state calls Investigator Allison Fitzgerald.
Please swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you for succeeding in this stand and state your full name for the record.
Investigator Allison Fitzgerald
Investigator Fitzgerald, where are you employed?
with the City of Columbia Police Department.
And how long have you worked with the Columbia Police Department?
Been there almost 9 years.
And in what capacity are you employed?
I'm now an investigator in the Special Victims Unit.
Briefly describe some of your day-to-day responsibilities with CPD.
Currently, I investigate domestic violence, sexual assault cases, any cases with children missing and runaways.
Investigator Fitzgerald, I want to draw your attention to late March and early April of 2019. Were you involved with an investigation into the kidnapping and murder of Samantha Josephson?
I was.
How did you become involved in that investigation?
I believe we came in on Monday after the incident happened, and we were all assigned to help with tasks.
And let me just clarify, at that time, so late March, early April 2019, you were also an investigator?
Correct.
So your duties and responsibilities would be the same?
Correct.
And what was the extent of your involvement in the investigation?
I was tasked with helping follow up with some search warrants, as well as follow up on some different leads that we had.
Specifically, did you go and get any search warrants in this case?
I did.
And what were those search warrants for?
I obtained a search warrant for the Capital Waste Services, which was an employment of Mr. Rowland, as well as also the FedEx, which is also another employment.
And to your knowledge,
Do you know specifically what those documents were related to? I believe we were attempting to get some employment records that potentially had his applications with some handwriting on them to be compared.
The jury break for lunch at this time, resume at 2:15. Please not discuss the case. See you at 2:15.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of it. But there's some more of day 3 that we're going to be showing. And, oh, hold on just a second. Where am I at? Where am I at? Okay, I apologize there, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit the like button and share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. And we'll be having a little bit more of day 3. But that was the end of this one. You know, look at all this evidence. I mean, really, parents? You don't think it did? Well, we'll save you later. You're not the focus right now, but I'm going to get into y'all very soon. Very soon. And that was really deep about, you know, what the mother said. Just an innocent woman, beautiful, just out there waiting for an Uber. You know, out with her friends, having some drinks, having a good time. And then here come this piece of crap, pulls up. You my Uber? You a Uber? Yeah, I'm Uber. This is so sad. This is really sad. And this is horrific. It should have never happened. Should have never happened. And like I said, and I'll say it again, the more I watch this trial, the more I'm saying to myself, this man was going to turn out to be a serial killer. He had his first taste. This is something he'd been wanting to do for a long time. And he had his opportunity, and he thought he was going to get away with it, and he was going to do it again. But you see, sir, God had a plan. He stopped that immediately. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that's it of this one. Stay tuned for more of Donna Just Being Real. Share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. And if you want to reach out to me, feel free to check out the description. You can find my email address, and we can go from there. If you have any viewers requests, or you have anything you want to talk about, or you're looking for coaching and dating, love, and relationship, feel free to contact me. All right. So everybody out there, be safe. Bye.